Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the From Adversity to Abundance podcast. I am your host, Jamie Bateman, and I'm thrilled today to have a special guest with us, Mark Podolsky of the Land Geek, thelandgeek.com. Mark, how are you doing today?
Jamie Bateman, it's a pleasure. Pulse is normal, respiration's fine.
Awesome. That sounds like you're healthy and doing well. So, Mark, I've gotten to know you a little bit, not super well yet, although we are going to be in Scottsdale together next week. So we'll get to know each other better next week. So I know your story somewhat, but for the listeners out there, would you mind telling everyone kind of who you are and why we should listen to you?
Yeah, I'm a professional land investor. I've been land investing full time since 2001. I've done over 6,000 transactions and growing. And my whole goal and my mission in life is to not only get myself out of solo economic dependency, which means if I'm personally not working, I'm not making any money. So really having my passive income exceed my fixed expenses so I can work when I want, where I want, and with whom I want. But I also want to help other people solve their money problems and their time problems so they can move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs into self-actualization and do what they really want to do with this short, precious life.
That seems like that's pretty important. And you've got that well defined. So that's really good. So, so just before we jump into your backstory, what does a normal day look like for you today?
So today is Wednesday. Typically, I have team calls today. So I've had my week themed out. So Mondays and Fridays are my thinking days.
Okay.
And I really just spend that time thinking. So I don't take any calls. I rarely will do a podcast interview. Um, but usually it's just reading, working out, meditating, self-care, and then thinking
Sure.
about ways to grow the business. Tuesdays are my
Interesting.
podcast days, Wednesdays are my team meeting days, and Thursdays are my client meeting days.
Okay. That's awesome. I just read a book on structured thinking. I failed to implement it, frankly. But being intentional about the point of it was to be intentional about carving out thinking time, and it doesn't have to be overly structured, but putting it on your calendar. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you've done that to, I'd say, kind of an extreme. I mean, uh, compared to some people. So I'd love to pick your brain offline about that. That's pretty interesting. Um,
Yeah, no, the 3-day work week is phenomenal.
I can't argue with that. So now that said, sounds like you have you've got the perfect life with no adversity, right? It's all abundance right now, but no, I'm kidding. But point of the show is obviously to dive into your backstory and discuss some of the adversity that you've been through, Mark, on a personal level or business level, but somewhat of a human level, and to share with our listeners kind of what was on your mind at that time, how you got through that, what that looked like on the other side, and pull out inspiration and lessons learned for the listeners. That's the point of the show. So you can pick it up wherever you'd like, as far as age 4 or age 34, or wherever you'd like, and we can run with that.
Yeah, I mean, if we rewind the tape to say 2001 to 2008, right? I was making a lot of money buying and selling raw land, but I'd never been through a cycle before.
Hmm.
And I didn't have a really a mentor at that time either. So at that point in time, I mean, I kind of just had this idea of like the more money I made, the more money I spent, like Parkinson's law of money. And so I have 3 children. I had a wife that doesn't work. And so I just built up this crazy lifestyle thinking that this is what wealthy people do. So I got a
Hmm.
big house, got a luxury car. I'm not even a car guy, right? But I had to get a luxury car because my neighbors had luxury cars. I
Hmm.
got a housekeeper full time, and
Wow.
then a nanny full time. And so I was putting all these things in my life,
Hmm.
and I was going out all the time. Um, and so it wasn't until, let's say, 2010, I was forced to really see, oh my gosh, half my income's gone. I can't afford these things anymore.
Hmm.
And it was really this, ego blow to my head, like, oh my gosh, I'm not as smart as I think I am. I'm not as capable as I think I am. I've got a real problem here.
Hmm.
And I've got a real happiness problem as well.
Hmm.
Because ultimately, I mean, I'm sure, you know, maybe probably not your listeners, but I'm sure some other people have felt growing up like, okay, this is, like you buy into sort of the culture's idea of what makes you happy,
Hmm.
right? You're going to go up and you're going to get that good education, you're going to get the good job or start building your business, and you get all these things. You get the car and the house, and you go on the nice vacations, and you kind of look around, you're like, oh my gosh, I got all these things and I'm
Hmm.
not happy. And so I
Right.
had this sort of this internal feeling of just, I'm not enough. Like I'm not enough. And
Hmm.
so if I get all this stuff, then maybe I'll feel like I was enough. And
Hmm.
then it just didn't,
You got all this
what didn't
stuff
make
and
me happy at all.
you still weren't enough. Um, it
Yeah.
sounds like. So before we dive more into the 2010 specifically, what from a kind of tactical or practical standpoint, how, what did your business look like for the previous 10 years? And, generally speaking, how well was your business doing? And then, and then why did it, why did it things go south from a tactical standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, I was making seven figures and I was doing really well. It all went down because I was doing owner financing and people just couldn't make their payments. So,
Got it.
people are calling me up, say, hey, Mark, it's in between food or your land note. And
Yeah.
I'm choosing food. And so I had this personal overhead that I just couldn't support anymore. I mean, the company was still profitable,
Hmm.
but
Gotcha.
I was struggling to keep up my own personal overhead.
So you're buying just hundreds of, plots of land and seller financing, owner financing those to buyers. And those buyers, when the Great Recession occurred, were unable to make the payments to you, and that's why things went south. Correct? Is that
Exactly.
fair? Okay,
That's exactly why.
got it. So, um, so 2010, how quickly did it go south? I mean, was it
I
like,
mean, it felt like it was like just one day.
wow?
And then
Okay.
so, the 4,500 square foot home, I had to short sell it.
Hmm.
Um, the private schools, we had to go to public school. No more nanny, no more housekeeper. I had to sell my car for taxes. And so
Wow.
as I whittled these things away, I mean, it took maybe a year to slowly pare down my overhead. And it was very painful at that time.
Hmm.
But I realized something like, oh my gosh, instead of going out to this fancy steak dinner on a Saturday night,
Hmm.
my wife and I are staying home with the kids and playing charades and spending and it seemed like, oh my gosh, none of that stuff's making me happy. This is really what makes me happy. And
Hmm.
it's like I needed that to really be clear headed about, okay, here's what really makes me happy. None of the
Hmm.
things that society, says will make you happy.
Sure, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and we have, every guest we have on has a different story, obviously, and they deal with different adversity. And some people they know what's coming. Actually, they may have a surgery upcoming. They know it's going to be a huge, huge deal, so they're able to plan for that adversity. And then, in this case, it seems like it probably caught you off guard, right? So you didn't really have that time to plan ahead for this major challenge. Um, but the other thing that varies a lot is how quickly you're able to kind of see this challenge as as a blessing, my words. But was that, I'm guessing it was a process, it wasn't an overnight thing. How long did that take before you could actually see that the reality that this was actually good for you and your family?
I think for me, it took a while to really get to that point where, I felt like I was enough no matter what I did externally, right? Just
Hmm.
that internal feeling of enough. I want
Hmm.
to say it took years to get to that point where I really could see very
Hmm.
clearly and feel it, at a visceral level, like
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
enough. Um, so I would say it was a process. I mean, I remember not only was I in therapy, but I was also getting very deeply into meditation. And so watching the thoughts, I started learning more about stoicism and,
Hmm.
reframing and seeing how every situation can just be reframed. And,
Hmm.
uh, pain is optional. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And
Mm-hmm.
so, kind of watching these things happen and over time, slowly, 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 I've gotten to the point where I'm really clear on like, okay, here's how you transcend money. I want other things money can't buy, right? I want a fit body, I want a calm mind, and a house full of love. And so those are the things I really
Right.
want. And
Mm.
and this, very simple goal of being a good ancestor. Money has nothing to do with any of those things.
Sure. That's really good. Um, no, and I appreciate you being kind of vulnerable and just honest about, it's again on this show, I mentioned this before we hit record, and I say this on other episodes, but it's a process. it's it's you don't flip a switch and all my problems are gone and heaven on earth or something like that. So it's a process, and it sounds like you were somewhat forced into that process, but then we're very intentional and methodical about working on yourself, working on redefining your priorities. um so bring us up through till today regarding your business, and how your life is different with your view of money and business.
So now I just look at it as a game. My
Okay.
identity has nothing to do with it. Um, I go through like these fear setting exercises where if I lost everything tomorrow financially, what would I
Hmm.
do? Well, I haven't got a great answer. I know exactly what I would do. I would move to Bali and for about a $1,500 a week. I'm sorry, $1,500 a month. I could literally live like royalty. I would eat well. I would work out. I'd be surrounded by nature. There's amazing people there. So I I already know what I would do. Now,
Hmm.
I wouldn't want that to happen,
Sure.
obviously, but it's yeah. So it's there's definitely you don't need as much as you think you do.
Yeah, so I mean, just correct me if I'm wrong, but you're no longer a slave to money, and you put money in its place. I don't. I think you still value money, right? Um,
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, but it's neutral. I mean, it's just like all money to me now, it's has nothing to do with my identity, has nothing to do with how good a person I am or how bad a person I am. It's
mhm,
really more neutral. Like, have I exchanged value with someone? And for
mhm,
exchanging enough value, I get this thing we call money.
mhm.
So really, it's more about, and I love helping people and
Right.
exchange value. So now it's just kind of fun and
Sure.
it has nothing to do with anything else.
I love that. It's really good. It actually reminds me. A, a guest I had on previously. He's a fitness guy. He lost 75 pounds three times, and then this time he's kept it off, and now he's about to run an Ironman, which is just awesome. But he tweeted yesterday, I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but it's relevant here. He tweeted yesterday something along these lines of, money doesn't buy happiness. Money isn't going to make. He's come to the realization that money isn't going to make him happy. And I don't even want to say countered. I just suggested that, what about the impact on others? So I'll just, not even pushing back here, just food for thought, or a question to you. Do you think that the more money you make, the greater the impact you can have on the world and others? How do you, what would you say to that?
I absolutely. I mean, I think your legacy, um, and we're in this mastermind group together where we want to get
Yeah.
200% above our passive income.
Yeah.
And so absolutely being able to support charities makes a big impact.
Sure.
Absolutely being able to support your family. And, the truth is, in 3 generations, no one's going to remember us anyways. But I love this Russ Morgan quote. He's like, well, in 3 generations, if your ancestors are getting a check, they're going to remember you.
That is good.
So, you know, so absolutely. So, the way I look at it, it's like a game, or
Right.
let's just say a video game, right? And
Mhm.
you get up to that next level, it's really fun, it's really challenging. And I wouldn't
Mhm.
want to just stay at that same level. I want to keep playing the game as well as I can for as
Right.
long as I can. Again, letting go of my attachment to whether I win or lose the game. Can I
Mhm.
just enjoy the fact that I'm playing it? And while I'm
Mhm.
playing it, be very intentional about why am I playing this game? It's to have fun, it's to provide, it's to have novel experiences, it's
Mhm.
to make an impact. And so all those things make meaning for us in our lives. Like we need to have meaning.
Right.
And so again, I mean, it's just neutral, but it's not to say that it's not important. It can, there's a joke like, oh, you can't buy happiness. Well, money buys me lots of happiness. I've got a yoga instructor that makes me happy, and I
Mhm.
go to this place called Optimize that makes me happy.
Mhm.
Good food makes me happy. So
Sure.
of course I want to have these things.
Yeah. Makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I no, I mean, I certainly get caught up in the chase as well. I mean, if I'm honest, but yeah, I view money personally as kind of like the internet. It's very powerful. I mean, it's neutral in the sense of whether it's good or evil. It can be used for good or bad or anything in between. So yeah, I like that. It's really good. It just sounds like liberating and freeing, and the approach that you take now. So um I'm gonna fly through some questions here if you're good with that.
I'm great with it. And
What's
Jamie, I'm so glad I didn't cry. This was a lot.
We'll have you back. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I had one guest. She had been on 40 some podcasts, and this was the first one she cried on. I'm not proud of it, but hey, I guess she got vulnerable. So,
Yeah,
um,
no, it's great.
um, what's one thing that people misunderstand about you?
Oh, such a good question. Uh, I think, what do people misunderstand about me? I don't often feel misunderstood,
Okay.
but
That,
if I had to guess, um, maybe, does he care? Right?
mm,
Because I'm pretty even keel and I do care, but
yeah,
I am able to stay not, it's not like I'm detached, I'm non attached to any outcome.
yeah. That could probably apply to me too.
Yeah.
um, So besides I don't know if the 2008, 2010 period is what it would be your answer, but what's one of your biggest failures or something you would redo?
I would say one of my biggest failures was not getting a mentor earlier.
Mm,
There's this sort of arrogance about me as the market kept going up, that real estate market. Like
hmm
anyone could have made money in real estate from 2001 to 2008. And I
hmm
was that anyone. Like I wasn't special, but I thought I was. And so
hmm
I think having a mentor was just a huge failure on my part. It would have solved so many issues and problems for me.
Well, and just to piggyback on that, I would say I know there are many things that are different from a market condition and economic standpoint, but I'd say in the last 10, 15 years, the same thing is true, right? As far as,
Yeah.
uh, lots of people making money that maybe they're not the genius that they think they are. Um, if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self some advice, what would it be?
Learn to meditate.
Nice.
Absolutely. Just to be able to watch those thoughts and not get so attached and so emotional. I mean, you can lose days in your head
hmm
and not be in reality.
hmm
That would be like a superpower for sure.
Yeah. Gotcha. Did it take you a while to get better at that? I mean, or because I tried a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, is 10 years a lot? I don't know.
I
And
think
I'm still not, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I get lost in thought like anybody else. It's just,
Mhm,
I'm really quicker to get lost in thought. And can see like, reactions when they
mhm,
come up. I'm more curious about them than
hmm.
swept away by them now.
Now
Where
was it
before, it's like, it's like I love this saying, like, oh, you think you're so enlightened, go spend a week with your parents, right?
right?
And don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
if I'm talking to my parents, like they
yeah,
can
yeah.
still press my buttons.
The old Mark will come out real quick, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. If you could have coffee or a drink or something with any historical figure, who would it be?
Oh wow, I love this question. Well, alive or dead? So alive, I'd look like the Dalai Lama. I think would be super interesting,
Hmm.
just because he's like he's world renowned for like having this power of presence. I'd
Hmm.
love to experience, and ask him these deeper philosophical questions.
Sure.
Historically speaking, um, I think that Napoleon is a really interesting character,
Mm.
and in his time,
Hmm.
Lincoln I think would be extremely uh, interesting
Yeah.
as well. Certainly Jesus, the Buddha, So there's a
Yeah.
lot, but yeah. Can
Those are
I
some
can
good
I have them
ones.
all for dinner? Can I have like a big?
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully not the Last Supper, but anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's see. Let's talk about your business for a bit here. What's a one challenge that you're facing in your business right now?
So one challenge I'm facing in my business. So Dirt Rich 2, my second book is coming out, and launching that is a challenge. Having the courage to lock the manuscript is a challenge.
Because
So
because it's never done, right? Is that
it's never done, but at some point it's got to be done.
it's got to be done.
And I keep reading it, rereading it, and going over it
Yeah.
and editing it. And so that's a challenge. But as far as like the overall market is concerned,
Hmm.
um, because land is a good inflation hedge.
Hmm.
I'm not very concerned yet with that as a challenge.
Gotcha. Interesting. Um, that makes sense. So, in your opinion, what's a personality trait that makes someone successful in your line of work?
Oh my gosh, grit is
Grit.
the personality trait. If you got grit, you can you can do it.
Okay. Nice. Um, all right. Some final questions here before we wrap up. What is a book or two that you could recommend for my audience?
Okay, so one of my favorite books is The Second Mountain by
Okay.
David Brooks. Uh, anything by Derek Sivers. I love his books, like
Uh
How to
huh.
Live. He was just on my podcast. I love that guy.
Okay. I've
Um,
seen his name. I haven't read his
he,
books.
yeah, he's great. He's kind of like this is very succinct philosopher.
Hmm.
Um, but he's not like woo woo. It's like really more. He's a business guy that he sold his
Hmm.
company for 22 million and gave it out to charity. He's that kind of guy.
Wow.
So those would
Yeah.
be some books. I'm right now. I'm reading Will Storr Status Games. It's fascinating. I love that
Huh.
book.
Okay. I'm assuming you've read some of the Ryan Holiday books.
I love Ryan Howdy.
Yeah.
Obstacles
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Ego's the
Yeah.
enemy. He's
Yeah.
great.
Those are good. Um, what about some other podcasts that you enjoy? You can mention yours.
Yeah. So shameless plug, Art of Passive Income podcasts, which Jamie's going to be on, uh, is absolutely my favorite. But I I I, I kind of go back and forth. Like I listen to books, I listen to podcasts, but the one podcast that I always find consistently great is Tim Ferriss' podcast.
Oh, that's good. I should go back to that one. Used to listen to it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Why?
I've been,
What are you listening to?
oh man. I've been bouncing around a decent amount. Got to pull out my phone, of course. I had do often listen to the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. I'll be honest, this summer I feel like I've struggled to find consistently good content there. Um, so Ken McElroy has a podcast that's good. just for just kind of overall real estate, big picture, multifamily investing, that kind of thing. I do listen to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast, which is
Mhm.
Go Abundance podcast, and
Oh,
they have some really cool human kind of guests, you know, where yeah, it's about investing in business and things like that, but really cool stories. So yeah, those are a few.
okay. I'm subscribing right now to Tribe of Millionaires.
Nice. He's got, I think it's twice a week. I think the once a week is the a Go Abundance member as the guest, and then once a week is kind of an outside, you know, expert in a field. So yeah, I really like that one. So yeah, that's a good one. There I was
Awesome.
actually looking into that to Go Abundance before I joined our passive income mastermind, which I recommend to people.
Yeah, you know who I really like right now, by the way? It's Sharon mentors this guy. It's Alex Ramosi, the
Oh yeah.
game. He's
Okay.
great. This guy's
I've seen
so
him on
young
YouTube and stuff. Yeah.
and so good. It's kind of disconcerting to be that young and that good.
Was he was a fitness guy too, like a gym
Yeah, he's a
owner?
fitness guy. He did gym launch, and I mean, he
Yeah.
was making like, I mean, I think he built that thing up to like 100 million or something. I mean, it's just kind of crazy, like his meteoric rise. But
Yeah.
his, his sense of abundance in the way he
Hmm.
gives is really fantastic. He just has like this just really cool, straightforward way of talking that's super authentic and super wise.
Yeah, I saw a fairly recent video of his about Grant Cardone, and you know, because he's so controversial. And I think Alex was essentially just, for the most part, defending what he's been able to accomplish. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I've heard him on a podcast. I'll have to see if I can get Sharon to get him on here.
Yeah,
That would be,
yeah, same with me. We'll
yeah,
get in line for the
yeah,
Hormozy.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Exactly.
love.
Awesome. Well, what haven't we covered? I know I kind of already asked that, but what you have going on today? I mean, you have your book coming out. What else would you like to plug here?
I mean, for those of you that are interested in solving your time and money problems, you can check out the landgeek.com. I've got a free course, how to double your money 30 days or less. Go to the landgeek.com/quick deals, the landgeek.com/quick deals.
Awesome. Well, this has been really good. You're very relaxed and easy to talk to. You've got everything kind of, yeah, I don't know, just your priorities, and it's refreshing. It's enlightening. And I'm not just saying that because of kind of the, you know, the meditation world that you're in, but it really, it's just an easy conversation. I appreciate you being vulnerable about the, you know, about the difficult. I mean, that's, again, we gloss over that here, like it was, oh yeah, I just lost everything and no big deal, now I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, but it's one of those weird things. Like, when we look back on our lives, it is the adversity
Yeah.
and how we go through those challenges that we look back and we're like, those are the greatest blessings, the greatest gifts. And so it's no fun when you're going through it,
Right.
but you can't enjoy the great things in life without having the juxtaposition of things that are challenging in your life. And so for me, I mean, I talk about it now with a little bit more distance because it was so
Right.
long ago, but look, it's just a matter of time before that next big unexpected challenge happens,
Sure.
and it'll be another gift that I'll have to go
Right.
through.
And I do think it's comforting to know that we're supposed to have challenges, you know, and
Yeah,
we are going to have more adversity. I mean, yeah, that kind of sucks to understand that, but it's when the adversity hits, you don't know what it'll look like, but you can at least tell yourself, we can tell ourselves, no, this is okay. This is supposed to happen. So, but I just love the way you talked about the, you know, treating, I guess, the acquisition of money, or treating money like a game, and just detaching yourself from, you know, money as far as your self-worth. Those were kind of two of the key points that I pulled out. I'll have to pull out some more when I re-listen to it, Yeah, this has been awesome, Mark. So I just appreciate your time. I know you are busy, even though you have Mondays and Fridays and 3-day work week, but I know
Yeah.
you have plenty of other things to get to. In fact, we're both late for this mastermind call, but yeah, anything, final thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I always sort of end with a Zig Ziglar quote. If
Okay,
you'll do for the next 3 to 5 years what other people won't do, you'll be able to do for the rest of your life what other people can't do.
that's awesome. Love it. Awesome, Mark. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And to the listeners out there, appreciate you spending your most valuable asset with us, and that is your time. Thanks, everyone. Take care.